So I have absolutely no copyright to this music. Thank you so much. If you're already on, please share the video so as to connect with other people that are in your particular friendship list or on your friendship list. Because as you know, I only have 5,000 friends. And please go ahead and like our page. We really, really appreciate it. Let me first of all apologize. We're about 34 minutes late. And the reason being is that we um uh, we we um, we had some technical logging in to do per se. So we had some login issues, but we are on now. So let me apologize. We're here for precisely 2 hours. We're 1 hour. We're 35 minutes into our 2 hours. Precisely at 3 o'clock, we'll be off. So you can go do what you need to do. Thank you so much again for being here. Please go ahead and share the video. That said, I listened to something very inspirational. People learn from each other. This is a president from our region. And let me go back again and just re-emphasize the essence of that Liberia is lifted that I always played, made in my teen song, have been that life and death lies in the power of the tongue. We when we believe positive reinforcement that this is we are capable of doing this, we can do this, we can do it. Today, let me just reflect a little bit on the young man called, I know everybody amplified, Martin Luther King. And that's great because he took onto the mandate and the touch and he carried it. But the young man or the old man or the men of the 20s who brought us the civil rights movement, Mr. Isaac Randolph, Isaac Philip Randolph, ASA, Philip Randolph is the young man who brought us the actual movement, who were brave enough to challenge this country. And along the path, other people found their own voices. The Sojourner Truth, the Susan B. Anderson, Moses came before, Harriet Tubman came before. And all of these fine people, Ruby Bridges, or 6 years old, who fight for desegregation of school, the Rosa Parks of the world, who we have our own Rosa Parks in Liberia. These people brought, and today we are still shaping the nation. I know there are a lot of conversation that's being had here, but today we'll be talking about, we'll go out a little bit with company, but we'll be talking about the lifeblood of any country for that matter, the economy of your country, money, the exchange, those mindset where growth, especially in a connected community or a global economy today. For any nation to thrive, you have to know how to handle your money. You have to know who has your money. You have to know how your leadership is handling your money. You have to know that your leaders are not mortgaging the future of your nation, the future of your children, that you're protecting posterity. So we're going to be talking about your money. We're going to be talking about an overview on the quote unquote recast budget from a very professional, not just professional, but an expert, because you have to give certain hours in studies and work to be called an expert. All of us can explain budget in theory, but we're talking about people who have actually worked in that field, who understand how budget works, who have made policies and procedure as to how to grow an economy and have impacted on the larger level. So we'll be talking to a gentleman who has a PhD in economics, and he's also a teacher or professor for that, and have also served in Liberia, and found the need to leave and come back. So he will talk to us. But before we go, I want us to listen to this man. This is Ghana President Nana Addo. Those are the few.
That the aid pass will not take, it is obvious that the aid pass will not take Africa to where it has to be. We do not want to be a scar on anybody's conscience. We do not want to be pitted. We do not want to be either pawns or victims. And we certainly do not want headline writers to continue to compete to find the most lurid adjectives to describe our continent and its peoples. Africa no longer wants to be the deficit place to go to find the footage to illustrate famine stories. We no longer want to offer the justification for those who want to be rude and abusive about Africa and her peoples. It is time to build our economies that are not dependent on charity and handouts.
It's time to build our economy that's not dependent on charity and handouts.
We understand that donor populations want their governments to spend their aid budgets in their own country. We have learned from long and bitter experience that no matter how generous the charity, we would, and indeed, we have remained poor. I spoke right at the beginning
I will
of this
stop here.
about fact.
No matter how long, no matter how big the charity, we have remained poor. That is from Ghana president, from our region, West Africa, Nana Addo. I couldn't say that anymore. When little people, when I said the same thing, that we don't need charity, we need the rule of law to work. We need presidents with vision. We need leadership who are accountable to the people. That was a crime that, little people who are on government payroll, little people who don't understand how the government works or how nations are developed, to say, talk it out and still continue to. You just heard a president of Ghana, a leader of his peers, who is challenging the status quo to change the mindset of the people. What that say, Liberia? That said, let me bring Dr. Gompu on. Dr. Gompu, welcome to Second Thought. Unmute yourself and speak to the people. People are watching. Dr. Gompu, people are watching. We can't hear you. You're still on mute. Dr. Gompu, we cannot hear you. You got to unmute yourself. Okay, I'm going to move you until he unmute himself. There you
Hello,
go.
hello.
Yes, Doc, yes. Good afternoon. Welcome to Second Thought. Please greet your people.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to be here and to talk about economic issues. I think the economy is critical to the life of everyone, especially for a developing country. So congratulations on your show. I've watched this. I've been here. I think I've been here once, and I'm glad to be back. And you couldn't have started any better than the quotation from the Ghanaian president.
Thank you so much.
I think that quotation encourages us to think about what we can do ourselves to raise ourselves, raise our economy, and recognize our potential to be as great as any other nation, especially for a country like Liberia that was the first in sub-Saharan Africa to declare itself independent.
Correct.
To be here at this place today after 200 years. And when I talk about the age of the country, I go back to the founding in the 1820s, not just from 1847 when it said independence, but it started settling as a modern state from the 1820s. So going back to that time, you can say 200 years. And today we are one of the poorest, in fact, the poorest among the 25 poorest nations in the world. So it's a sad situation. And the economy is critical to our freedom, it's critical to our voice, it's critical to our participation. So I think it's a significant topic you're choosing for your show today. So I'm glad to contribute to it.
Thank you so much, Doc. So let's start with, let's just highlight a few things. We are saying, because you live in America, I live in America. I will also say, at least looking at things, that Liberia has 5.5 million people now, according to the World or Health Organization. That's something that I just spoke 2 days ago. It is estimated that between Canada and America, there are about at least 800,000 Liberians who migrated here, either by coming straight or by resettlement method, or however way they came, or as an immigrant. Then I can come up with the actual number of the Liberians that are in Europe, in the Oceania country, and Asia per se. So I can assume that we have at least 1.5 million Liberians around the world that contribute to the economy of Liberia. So we have a stake, and then we have a stake in this COVID-19. As of last night, we have at least 365,000 deaths. Okay, we have 5.9 million people infected at this point. Okay, Liberia is having her own struggle. What is your thought on this? In this, pertaining to an economical effect.
Yeah, I think it is. My heart go out to all of those people who have lost relatives in this COVID-19 struggle. And from what I've heard in the last few days, in the United States, I hear that the death rate is beginning to come down, but it's still a global problem. And fortunately, not that many people have died in Africa, but the reports indicate that the developing world, especially Africa, is still vulnerable. But we are hopeful, we are prayerful, and at the same time, we need to take the actions that are necessary,
right,
to prevent more death and more sufferings. And the economy is critical because, again, when it comes to health, even though health is about, in a way, science and biology, it's also connected to the economy because you need resources, you need to pay doctors, you need to pay nurses, you need to get medication, you need to get equipment in order to build a vibrant healthcare system.
Correct.
So Liberia is when we talk about poverty, is also affecting our healthcare system.
Mm-hmm.
The healthcare is vulnerable in Liberia. You know what the country went through with respect to Ebola. We lost so many thousand citizens.
Right.
So the way in which we manage our economy and the way the kind of policies we make, those in charge of policy making, and when they make the right moves and they make the right sacrifices and they follow rule of law, we can definitely transform our society, and not just the society, that will also include the healthcare system so that our people are more secure. As it stands now, when you have a very weak healthcare system, then you have a situation where people become vulnerable in the sense that the life expectancy is lower by the economic, weak economic realities. So Liberia is still in harm's way when it comes to the issue of the coronavirus situation. So the country needs to do what it can, and what is necessary to restructure its healthcare system and to make it more prepared to deal with the consequences of the coronavirus as it continues to spread. And in that connection, we have the budget. And we have heard recently that the budget was recast and that some new provisions were made with respect to the coronavirus situation. So we are going to, on your show, I hope we'll have an opportunity to delve into that to some extent.
Yeah, actually, we would like to talk about that. Here is why it's important. We noted last month that before they even passed the state of emergency, and I'm trying to understand the essence of the state of emergency, there were no emergency supply given to our people by our government, although there was $25 million allocated for that. There was another $7 million allocated for that. There were $40 million through the U.S. Embassy allocated for that. And therefore, we have about $57 million at this point, which we were told that the government gave how many ever million for LEC. 10% of Liberia does not have electricity per se. So why millions of those should go to them? And I'm sure you have copy now of the so-called recast budget. And I wanted to look at a few things. Before we go any further, let's look at the recast budget, because we're actually at a crucial point in Liberia based on everybody crying corona. And this corona, everyone who literally have been diagnosed per se, have been government official, maybe a few other people that have been called that they died. And then when the parents came back and challenged the report, they withdraw or either change the name. So let's look at the recast budget a little bit. Is there actually a budget? Is there a budget with budget items that you can spell out with allocation? Is there a budget?
Well, this is really it's called a recast budget, so we'll call it a recast. We'll call it a budget. But this is really not a full budget. This is just a part. You could consider it as a part of a budget. I don't think this represents the country, and I think those legislators who said that it was unwise to approve this document as a budget, I think we're on the right track.
Okay.
Because this what is referred to as a recast budget is just a list of allocations. It's a list of allocations to various ministries and agencies. It tells us that the recast budget is about 518 million.
Okay.
Whereas the budget that was appropriated before was somewhere around 505 million. I'm just basically I'm just globalizing the figures here,
right,
without getting into the dollars and cents.
Right.
So generally when people talk about recast budget, they're basically saying, let's redefine the budget or let's reallocate the budget because the budget is not performing. Mm-hmm. That revenues are not coming in as expected, the economy is not performing as expected, and therefore revenue is impacted. And so we are not expecting much revenue relative to what we projected. So let's recast the budget. So that's the essence of recast. So what is interesting about this recast budget is that this budget shows that the new allocation is more than where they started from. See? So usually when the budget rises in the revision process, it's called a supplemental budget. In other words, you're adding to what you started with before.
Right.
Okay, and usually the recast happens when the budget is going down. Correct. But in their case, you have a situation where the budget started at $505,025,250, I mean, $250, $260. That's what was approved before. But now the recast is telling us that they're now at 518 million, $5,258.
So we're actually supplementing because we're adding. So we are not subtracting. We are not going back to where we were. So the vocabulary.
Right. So the recast usually goes lower, but this recast,
it goes up.
This recast, the global figure goes up, but some agencies, a number of agencies lost money, even though the budget is going up. But I mean, I'm happy that you invited me to participate in this because I learned just by taking time to get into it, even though I haven't really gone into the leaves of it, but the global figures and the ministry agencies, it really struck me as really surprising. And one of the things that surprised me in looking at this, again, the whole budget went up, which is surprising, in a situation when the budget is not performing. So it goes up by over from 505 million to
518, about 13 million. It goes to 13 million, yeah.
Right, 13 million. Okay. When the economy is not performing and the budget is not performing, so it goes up by 13 million. But then at the same time, those critical ministries, that's what struck me the most. The critical ministries and agencies that are supposed to be gaining money at the time you have a health crisis, then to have lost money.
Mm-hmm.
So the hospitals have, the hospitals' budgets tend to have reduced. Okay, I'm seeing Phoebe losing money, Tabitha losing money, and a number of other places losing money. In fact, the whole health sector, is one of the losers in the recast budget. But then, I'm seeing Ministry of Public Works their budget going up by almost $10 billion. So I'm really struck. I didn't expect to see this, but I'm struck. So what they actually did in the budget here is that they brought in $32 million. Yeah, $32,770 for allocated for coronavirus 19 or COVID-19 response. So the question began, from what source did they get this 32 million? So basically what they did was they just went throughout the budget and cut budgets from various ministry agencies. And then they took this what they cut from all over the place and compiled it into what they call the COVID-19 response as the $32 million. See?
Wow.
And that's what they've done. Then when it comes to the allocation of the coronavirus money now, then they go and give public work more money, about almost 10 million. And then they gave Ministry of Finance and Development Planning another $7 million. So I'm still trying to find out, where the rest of the money went. But I was really struck by it. I didn't expect to see public work budget rising, in the coronavirus situation. So public work is going to build the roads to go and address the coronavirus situation. When Phoebe Hospital is losing money, educational institutions lost money. The subsidy that government gave to various educational institutions like Cottington, for example, was lost completely. So this, from the way I see it, it doesn't seem to be really addressing what the country needs with respect to the coronavirus situation. It seems to me like there is an attempt to use the coronavirus crisis to really restructure the budget to emphasize where policymakers want to go, which is basically infrastructure. See, I don't see any direct relationship here between the restructuring that is done here in this recast budget, and the coronavirus crisis has been used, as a basis for the action.
Okay. Thank you so much, Doc. Hold on one second. Guys, let me just give you a quick background of Dr. Gumpo. Dr. Gumpo is a PhD in economics. Okay, so no, he's not somebody from under the plum tree on LU campus who just caused noise, because some of you are coming here and say he does not know. Yeah. And this is not to deviate, just to give you a background of him. He also a professor at a very prestigious university, has taught for years and worked for the first, during the first tenure of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, one of those who helped crafted the budget in Liberia. In fact, helped with raising the budget from 80 million to how many ever hundreds of million that you have today. And he left to come back here. If you read it, he would tell you his story why he left. Okay, everybody don't steal in Liberia. Some people work hard for their names, and some people who can always come back to America and get good job, they don't have to compromise themselves. He one of those people. So yes, he knows precisely what he's talking about. All right. So now, if here it is, and let me put it in my layman voice. The people give us money to help our people to keep them alive. The government who's supposed to take the money and share it, that what allocation means, give it to the right places, meaning when you allocate, you take this, they play where it's supposed to go there. So maybe you're supposed to put $50 for food for the people, $10 for this for the people. They decide that they will take the money and give it to public works, okay, where they have control. They will take the other money, they will give it to finance. The rest of the money, we don't know where it is. All right. And in economics, when especially in budgetary effect, when you're going up from what you initially have, you do supplementary budget, which you carry to be a proof because you already have your actual budget. If you're scaling down, okay, that's when you do recasting because you see that you are not going to hit your target. Number one, it is completely, in my turn, ludicrous, okay, to carry the budget up when the first quarter of the year, the government told us they were performing extraordinarily. Then just into right after the first quarter, before the COVID-19, then we got a news that we are going to be short $20 million each quarter. That's 4 quarters of a year. So that $80 million. But instead of scaling down, we're scaling up. So there's a disconnect here that we need to talk about. And yes, I understand budgetary effects. So some of you who need to know that I do have an MBA. Okay, so I understand these things. But I brought somebody who is more profound, who is expert in this field to speak to us. And let me ask us, Liberian people, instead of finding excuses before you come in, listen, learn. I know some of you have your loyalty to people. Some of us have our loyalty to our country, first and foremost. And that's why our job is to educate you so you make an educated decision as to how number works, how nations are developed. And that's why on Saturday, we make it our duty to come here and sit down and bring Liberians with wealth of knowledge, different discipline, to come and talk to you so you learn from it. We're not choosing words that you like, but we're choosing words that you can research, that will help you in the future in developing your mind. Now, Doc, let's talk a little bit about why would the government, instead of, because we're fighting COVID-19, if our people's lives are actually in danger, why would we be taking money away from the healthcare sector? In my state, Georgia, some of you go back, not this past Thursday, last Thursday, my state representative were here talking about recasting budget to put money where it was needed, to give loan to small businesses so they can survive, so America can stay work, to give money to the hospital to have masks and equipment, to pay people overtime so they can stay and save lives. But in Liberia, we're doing totally the opposite. Talk to us. Why is that? What do you see?
Well, I cannot say what is in the government's mind. We can only go with the facts.
Yes.
We can only go with the facts. And the facts here tend to show that we don't see any significant increase in healthcare allocations. I mean, we're still looking to see, I'm still going through it to really see where the money went. And the thing is, what we're seeing here is Liberia Water and Sewer Corporation lost money. LEC is down by $100,000. Okay, LEC. So
LEC
basically,
is
what I've done here is look at what allocation they had before and what allocation they had now under the recast budget. So what I expected to see would be that those, since you're concerned about health issues, those basic essentials that help
we need water,
the lives of the people, that gave them access to power. As the president himself said, you're going to give LEC more money and what have you. That's why I expected to see. You see? So, but I'm seeing in the budget, in the document, that water and sewer, clean drinking water, which is important for health, they're losing money in this. They took some money away from them, and I'm seeing more money going to public works, more money going to Ministry of Finance. So there's no detail here as to what they're doing with those money in the different agencies where they took those money. So I don't know whether they take the money to Ministry of Finance, then Ministry of Finance will give it back to the hospital. I don't know. But from what I see, allocations for Phoebe, was reduced, which is a critical, healthcare center, and the health sector in general, lost money. They took money, away from the healthcare sector. And the interesting thing is, as I said, this is a list of allocation. It does not even say where the revenue is going to come from. There's no revenue in this. So that's why I do not call it a budget. So anybody who wants to challenge that, they can go ahead and challenge that. I just want to go with the facts. I don't want to assume what's in their mind and why they did this. No, I really can't judge that. You got to go by what we're seeing here. The allocations here are supposed to now signal where the priorities is. Okay, we've heard from day one, the government had talked about trying to build coastal highway, trying to build roads in the southeast and what have you. And it seems like that remains the priority based on this restructuring that is going on. You see? So on the one hand, you see deduction from different ministries and agencies, and it brought all those deductions together, making up a chunk of money for COVID. You see, COVID-19 response, you get $34 million. Then when you go to the healthcare sector, then you begin to see that they're not getting more money. But then you go to public where you see more money, go to finance, you see more money coming in. So the recast, I'm looking at in terms of who was helped by the recast, in terms of more allocation, and who lost money. And when I look at that, I'm not seeing, as expected to see expansion in the critical sector like transportation, like healthcare, education, because again, when it comes to health and education are interlinked. You need to educate people. You need to educate doctors, and those places. So I'm seeing education as a whole sector losing money. The community, the county colleges. I see Nimba County Community College lost money. All the places lost money. Lofa County Community College, Bon County Community College. All of these educational institutions lost money, and maybe it could be, since they are closed, that could be a factor. But education is critical when it comes to the healthcare sector, because that's where the nurses come from. See, you can't have nurses and doctors without strengthening your education. You see, so we have to do the analysis based on the facts in the document. We can't get into their heads. So based on those facts, the recast is not reflecting an emphasis on health. You see, in terms of where we are, where we're putting our resources. See, so I'm surprised by this, and I really really would like to see more than just a summary, because what you have here is just a summary, about 18 pages. That doesn't constitute the budget when you see a full budget. Okay, the revenue section is missing. There's no revenue here in terms of where the money is coming from. See, so this is like, you know, you go into a store and you're saying you have a list of things you're going to buy, okay, or you want to buy, but then there's nothing that indicates where the money is going to come from. You don't have a credit card to say, okay, 5,000 is going to come from credit card, 3,000 is going to come from debt, 4,000 is going to come from my cash account. You don't have a debit card, but you have a list of things you want to buy. So then, is this really a budget? Will it be implemented? I don't know. Unless we see the revenue side of it, this is not a budget. This is not a comprehensive budget. This is just a allocation list, reallocation list. This is not how a recast budget usually look. See, when you have this type of thing, they're supposed to also present data on performance, budget performance from the time the budget was passed to now. They're supposed to say, okay, we allocated this amount. So far, this is how much, this is the portion of it that we have spent and funded. Then that would tell you the extent to which the revenue has performed. But it does not give you any indication as to whether revenue is down 20% or 40% or whatever. Then you see an increase in the budget. So where is the money coming from?
So then, Doc, let me ask you this. We have the Freedom of Information Act that was enacted that says that those information needs to be available to Liberian people. And I will give this much to Ellen, whether people like it or not. Those information were always available. Here is the question I would ask you. If in the past 5 years, we have had budget shortfall literally every year. The last 3 years of Ellen Johnson's leave, we have, I think, up to 140 million budget shortfall, meaning the 500 million projected budget was inaccurate. So we were off about 140. So our actual budget was about 360. Within that amount, literally over 65% were recurring expenditure. So it is almost impossible as a nation for us to develop in any way, shape, or form. Do you think the budget that we are working with, or that we're still building on, that we're still casting? I know from the beginning you said to us that the senators that look at the budget and say that budget, they were not going to sign it, they were correct. Darius Dillon was one of those people. He was really angry. Number one, he have not seen the budget. They met him at the door, according to him, and told him if he's going to sign. He told them no, he have not read it, he's not going to sign. And I'm sure this is not the way the world works. This is not the way. And you spoke of the rule of law. Now, talk to us about rule of law staying within the confines of the law as the government, and the people staying within the confines of the law. But before I go, since we have to worship here, let me let the people know. When our people voted for we they didn't vote because we are the most educated person in Liberia. Let's make that clear. They did not vote him because he was the most eloquent person in Liberia. That's just a fact. They did not vote him because he was the most moral person in Liberia. And that is the truth. This is a man who would not even acknowledge his own child when he was proving 99.9% DNA as his child, and lie in the court of Georgia that he was broke, he didn't have money to take care of his child, to pay child support. So he does not have it. I'm just being honest with everybody. And I would throw it, as a leader, this is not personal. When your leader characters count, the day I decide I want to be your leader, you have I haven't even decided yet. I want to speak, and people cuss me, people call me prostitute, people call me all the names, but that's good. That's how they feel. That's what they think. I don't even care. But these are facts that are written. Those people, that's speculation. Our people voted for accountability. Our people voted for equitable use of their resources and transparency. Our people voted for equitable justice, meaning it did not matter where status, your position, your economic or social economic position. They didn't care. They cared that somebody would come in and be transparent. They cared that somebody would come in that would be able to relate to their plight. Where are we in this process? Rule of law.
Well, I think again, I mean, just from the budget, we see that the rule of law is under assault because when you present a budget, the budget needs to be comprehensive. We have something called the PFM law, the Public Financial Management Law. It requires that certain information need to be provided to the public and to the legislature relative to the economic management of the country. At a certain time, you're supposed to present a midterm report to show you projected that you're going to collect $500 million revenue or $505 million worth of revenue. Okay? 6 months into the budget, you need to come back and say, okay, of the $500 million, $505 million we projected to collect, this is how much we have collected. So far, I have not seen any information with respect to the report on that. Okay, on the midterm report, midterm budget report, because that informs the legislature when it comes to the new budget. And when you come to say, okay, let's restructure the budget, you need to come with an updated report.
Right.
See, because there are revenue lines. Okay, there are revenue lines, collection of revenue on income taxes, on corporate taxes, on international trade, on grants. Where are we on those in terms of how much have come in? You need to bring that report before you can do reallocation. So that means the law requires that when you're presenting a budget, you have to not just say, oh, I'm going to build road and road will cost this amount. I'm going to give this amount of money to Ministry of Finance. You also need to say where that money is going to come from. Because we don't, money can come from so many different sources. And you could make promises and people make plans and sign contracts, and you don't have any means to deliver on what you promise. So this here is really, really shocking. I am really surprised to see an increase in the budget when in fact it's been reported all along that revenue was underperforming.
Correct.
And the economy has been hit. The economy has been hit by. Oh man.
That's okay.
Hello. Yeah.
You're here.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry. I'm on the phone and I think there was a call coming also. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah. So the issue of rule of law is critical in all sectors of the economy, all sectors of the society. Is rule of law, the adherence to rule of law, commitment to rule of law, the implementation of law that makes government strong, that brings credibility, that brings investors, that bring foreign investors, that bring domestic investors, that bring creditors. So you cannot, there's nothing more, more important than adherence to rule of law. The budget is a law, even though it's a financial plan, but it's also a law.
It's a
and
law.
When you don't do it right,
in the law, yes.
Right. When you don't do it right, you're compromising the law. You are violating the law. You see, so the budget is a financial document that is supposed to present a plan with respect to how much you intend to spend, how you intend to spend it, and what will be the sources of the funds.
The funds.
Okay.
Yes.
And you were talking about people coming in to make comments about what you're doing or what you're discussing. I think it's better to engage these people. Let them come with either questions or counter evidence or something of that nature. I don't think you should be discussing, personal matters in terms of how somebody feels about you and what have you. People have their feelings. And if somebody's being paid to put bread on their table because they have to go out and encourage certain people, then let that be their jobs. But I mean, we're talking about something here that affects the lives of 5 million Liberian people. Yes. We're talking about something here that will make Liberia that tend to establish Liberia viability in a global community. We're talking about something here that central banks around the world look at to see where the country is heading, so that when they have to make decisions with respect to whether to lend money or not lend money, these are the documents they look at. So I mean, this is a serious discussion. I don't think it's a personal thing. I mean, nobody hit anybody yet personally. I mean, we don't know most of the policy makers. We just want them to do their job. They're getting paid to perform.
Correct.
And they made certain promises, and all those promises, they were elected. They just need to perform. Nobody needs to like them or whatsoever. And for that reason, for me, I don't even believe in that whole concept of what you call hate. How can you hate somebody that you don't know? Most Black people are not like that. You cannot really make a judgment, personal judgment on people that you do not know.
Correct.
You see? So I don't know any of these people. I mean, I don't know most of them. So let's just work with the performance indicators, the rules of law, and how they're performing relative to the rule of law. I mean, that's the best we can do, and be fair to them. So I think when these people come around with derogatory comments, I think you should engage them and give them an ear, listen to them, and hear what they have to say relative to the topic at hand. What can you say about the economy?
Yes.
What
I think that's what we say. Yes, Robert. Yeah, Robert, you can call in with your question or with your comment.
What do you disagree with?
Yeah, what do you disagree with, and what do you think? And within the confines of the law, budgetary law, and within the confines of Liberian law, also what the state thinks should be. Doc, let's look at a few things. We are well into. We got 10 minutes to go, and about 2:30 you can call in. So let's look at a few things here together. Okay. We talk about, so at this point, our children are home. What we did, and one size does not fit all, because literally all of us in the US, to some degree, when before we came home to do digital distance learning, our kids were already connected in their classrooms, although they were socially connected in their classroom. Each of them already had their own computer. I'm talking about my particular districts, okay, so I can speak to that. And we started practicing when the virus started spreading, because technology was shifting, so our kids were being prepared. They have certain hours on the computer dated in the class. But before we left, we asked all of the children in the class that have connection to computer, or they either have computer, to be able to make provision for those children who did not have a tablet or a computer, or have access to any electronic device that they could access to do the work, to be able to make provision. At this point, okay, our children have been home since March. We are now going to June, literally. There has not been any provision made. And you talk about education being the backbone of any civilized country, for that matter. Be a cultural education, because you got to transfer knowledge to the next group, right? So in this particular economy, we transferred, I would call it colonial, what I call it, book sense to the people. You would have thought that this government would be investing in how we can get our children connected. Well, what are your thoughts on that, on the educational scene, and keeping our doctors and nurses safe?
Right. Look, I'm involved with Liberian groups. I'm involved with the NIMBA, United for Progress. And one of the issues I brought up in the discussion room was the kids are not in school, and we don't want them to fall behind. Right. What is being done to substitute for the access they had to education before?
Right.
Schools may be closed, but in other places, there are substitution in terms of people going to school online.
Right.
Teaching online. We may not have the infrastructure to make that possible. Okay? But what can we do? We cannot just sit by and let our children fall behind, because this is our future. You see, this is our future, these children and their education. This recast budget takes $3 million away from education. So how are you going to bring the students online when you're reducing education budget? I mean, this is strange. This is really strange. Look at Ministry of Health. In this recast budget, Ministry of Health lost $13 million. Their budget went from $59.4 million to now $46.3 million. And you're talking about, you say people cursing you. So what do they have to say to that? You're facing Corona, and now Ministry of Health budget is going down. So JFK, John F. Kennedy, they lost money. So I mean, education.
Here it is though. Let me quickly interrupt. Before Corona, JFK were performing poorly. Women were dying by the dozen in childbirth at JFK. People were dying from starvation because there was no food at JFK. We're talking September, October, November, December. Hunger, starvation were the #1 killer, no medication. How can we not add to that, especially in a health crisis, but take fun? Right. I mean, like, when people answer, you're who fighting and saying, you're saying something to that.
Right. So how can you in a Corona, you say we're facing coronavirus crisis, and then we're reallocating our spending, and we're taking money away from healthcare centers. We're taking money away from education. The kids are home. We need to bring those kids online. Even if we can't bring all of them online, we can start educating some of them. Okay? We need to bring them on. We need to do something to make it feasible for them to come online. And my recommendation, my fiscal immediate fiscal design, the government cannot build all of the network right now. It will take time to do those things to really make it feasible. But some of the things you can do, what is in your control is the cost of data. Telecommunication is in your control. People can learn through voice. People can learn through data by using the internet. And many of the young people in Liberia today, what they're telling me is that the cost of data has become very expensive. Look at a place like a Khan Academy. There's an online study facility called Khan Academy.
I know Khan, yes.
Okay, you know Khan. They teach various subjects. Okay, so if it was easy for kids in Liberia to get online, wouldn't it be possible that they could go to Khan Academy or to go to any other website and learn and be learning at the same time while they're waiting for the corona crisis to pass? But now you have a situation where the data, the cost of data is a lot more expensive. The cost of telecommunications is a lot more expensive. So what can government do? One of the things that government can do right now, is to suspend the taxes on telecommunications. See, suspend those taxes. Those 3-day free call that was, people are so opposed to. Yes, it's true. It's true that they're going to lose some revenue, but it can all be part of the coronavirus response. You see, you're going to lose some revenue, but you got to pay for something good. You have to pay for your need. You see? So then why, for example, if you now have, you say you bring in $34 million for coronavirus response, okay? Then why you can take maybe $6 million of that to cover the potential revenue that you could lose by making telecommunication tax-free, or reducing taxes on telecommunication by maybe 50%, on data by 75%. So it make it cheaper for the kids to come online, to go to different websites and study. Why you can't do that to help education? Why you can't do that? Why is that not something that government can do right away?
So, Doc, let me come in there. In fact, the Orange, I think that what it's called, have been fighting with this government. I believe the World Bank has come in and give them millions of dollars to reduce or to stay with where we are and give back the 3 days weekend. Our government have refused after they agreed to that. that information were available via Seku. It was also amplified with Henry the other day, that it was just like they've been fighting. The people have to go to court with them. This is your government. But let me read this really quickly before we go on. This is President Obama during his time in 2009. He writes, I have given a lot of speeches about education, and I have talked about responsibility a lot. And it goes, he said, I have talked about teachers' responsibility for inspiring students and pushing you to learn. I have talked about parent responsibility for making sure that you stay on track and you get your homework done and don't spend every working hours in front of the TV or on your Xbox. I have talked a lot about government responsibility for setting a high standard and supporting teachers and principals and turning around schools that aren't working, where students aren't getting the opportunities that they deserve. But at the end of the day, we can have the most educated teacher, the most supportive parents. But President Obama was talking about at that time the responsibility of the government to teach or educate its population to be able to compete, to be able to produce. According to Mandela, your most precious capital or jewel or gem, he calls it, it's your people, your children, because they are the future. What are we doing? Looking at the way Liberia is going, what kind of future do you see for our children, our young people? Look in the street, they're begging for food. Look in the street, they're fighting and killing one another. Look in the street, they're raping older women, older men, and keeping them and beating each other up. What do you see? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think there's a challenge. There's a challenge, but the future could be brighter if we begin to take the appropriate actions now. When Liberians start getting serious to think about these issues and think about how they can brainstorm and develop strategies to attack these problems. I mean, the problem that Liberia has, problems have been in so many other countries. There was a time when Ghana was very poor, and Ghanaians used to come to Liberia to look for jobs.
To look for jobs, to
come to other places.
Yes.
And today, Ghana has turned around.
Yep.
A big part of it,
leadership.
A big part of it was the investment in their education, the investment in the young people, and the investment in preparation for the future. So Liberia is in a desperate situation right now. Leadership is critical in the process. Policy is critical in the process. We need better policies. We need leaders to become more effective. And we need people to come together and not, waste their time on all these personal issues of cursing this person and cursing that person, all of these things. I mean, it just undermines the energy that we need to focus on where we need to go. So I think Liberia has a brighter future if the appropriate things are done, and if we begin to develop targeted policy, we begin to emphasize competence over partisanship, and we begin to realize that we have power because of the law, and we must be the model for obeying the law and for implementing the law. So that's where the future is. That's where the future of our children would be. Because again, when those things begin to happen, then we start investing in education, investing in health. See, and when you're investing in education, investing in health, then that means you're investing in access to technology, access to the internet, access to knowledgeable people through the way we employ, the way we deploy Liberians across the country for the rebuilding process. We cannot just rebuild by talking and putting up a show. We rebuild by taking, not just talking, but also taking appropriate action. That is to make sure that there are penalties for bad behavior, that there is persecution for corruption, and that nepotism, which is prohibited under the Constitution, is not something that occupy the way we implement policies. So I think that the time to begin to do that is now, which means that people in government should be honorable, and I feel somewhat sympathetic with people who depend on people at the Ministry of Finance who present themselves as expert, giving them these kind of documents, and they themselves not understanding it and not taking time to find experts to help them understand it, and they just going on and signing on to it. See, this is a shame. It's really an embarrassment for a whole country to be doing something like this, you know? And I don't think this is really going to be good for us when multilateral institutions like even the World Health Organization and the United Nations, you know, go into these kind of documents and see what the country is doing. See, you cannot be facing this kind of health crisis, health challenge, and then your health sector losing money. Your health sector losing money. Ministry of Health, the whole health sector is losing $13 million. The budget going down by $13 million on this recast, even though the budget is going up. I mean, I've never seen anything like this before. I really never seen anything like this before. You know, I mean, if the budget is going down and everybody loses money, then it's something. But the budget they have here is going up. So I don't know whether it's a typographical mistake or why it is, but you have to really see the revenue side. It's possible that they got some grants. It's possible they got a loan. I've heard that they got some loans from the IMF and what, but let's see the revenue side. Now, on the revenue side, you can see where the money is coming from, whether IMF money is coming in, whether loan is coming in, because those are the potential sources. Because this budget, their own revenue had not been performing. And I expected to see revenue, you know, at less than 30% or 40% of capacity. And then all of a sudden we see, you know, expenditure going up in the recast. So that means they're getting money from somewhere. So we got to see the revenue before we can really take a serious look at this budget, at this document to say we have a budget. And this is what our legislators should be doing. This is not a personal thing. It's not a personal attack. But this is just how this is a professional. This is just how professionals behave. And if we want a better country, we got to get serious. You can't say you want. I have not seen a Liberian who doesn't want a better country. I have not seen a Liberian who doesn't want a prosperous country. I have never seen a Liberian who doesn't want, you know, his relatives or his children to find jobs, to find good jobs. Every one of us want a better country, but we don't build that by just falling in love with our leaders, worshiping our leaders, and saying anything they do is fine, and anybody who questions them, you know, is a target. Wow. So we got to make up our mind.
So Doug, let me say this. Number one, you are an opinion leader among your peers. You are an opinion leader in one of the largest voting bloc in all of the other candidates besides Maserado. I will come to that in the end, but let me ask you this. I know when people give us money, the money in the charity process called designated funds. We received some designated funds for Corona. And you just spoke of international community. You spoke of multilateral organizations that want to come and invest in your country or in your business for that matter. And in a country where the rule of law, reputable organization will look at your book. They will research you before they come to do business with you. Let's say, for instance, I am a Liberian. I'm an investor, all right? I am an investor. Let's say 2017, when I got to Liberia in less than 2 weeks, I spent about $7,000. That's $7,000 that I added to the economy in 2 weeks in going to Liberia. Besides, I bought a plane ticket. And out of that plane ticket, and I pay airport tax or some kind of tax to the Liberian government. I bought food when I was out there. I fed people. I pay for transportation to move around. I pay for gas. I give people funds. So yes, to some degree, because I don't live in Liberia. The past years under Ellen Johnson's leave, I spent tens of thousands of dollars to build me a home out of my own earning in Liberia, while other people reside at this point. So to some degree, as a native, we who are in the diaspora, we're also investors because we're investing in businesses, we're investing in infrastructure, we're investing in children that are going to school. When you see these things happening, what normally would be the logical person or the moral person, the person who believes in the rule of law, what would be the thought process? Any reputable organization that wants to do business in your country, what would be the thought process?
Well, yeah, I mean, this doesn't help for expansion of investment in the country. It does not help. The thing is, business people want to know that they're dealing with credible people. So you have to work hard as a leader, as a policy maker, to make sure that your actions are consistent with your promises. Because a lot of times business is promise. Somebody wants to come and put an investment in your country, they want to put a factory in your country. When you promise them land, when you promise them security, when you promise them that your law works, they want to make sure and they want to see the example of the laws working. And so they check these things in terms of what does your budget look like? To what extent do you honor your own law? To what extent do you respect your own people? To what extent do you prosecute people who become criminals?
Criminals.
They look at these things. They look at these things. Okay? And when you are not up to the task on these things, they think twice because nobody wants to lose money. Investment needs to be a win-win situation. The person who bringing their money in wants to make money, and you who are receiving that money want to also make money. And when the promises don't work, when you are not credible, when you do not follow what you promise, then they know that the possibility of losing money by bringing it to your country or investing in your country is high. So businesses believe, we economists, one of our duties is to do forecasts. You look at indicators today and you say where things are going to be tomorrow, where things are going to be a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years. That's one of the things they pay economists for, to do forecasts and to give advice. You see? So the thing is, if you want investors to come to your country, or even your own people, if you want them to invest their money in your country, you got to be credible.
Yep.
You have to try to fulfill your promises. We're not saying you'll be perfect, but try to fulfill your promises to 75 to 80. Try to achieve 100, but if you can do 80% or even 75%, people say, okay, the people try. But you can't be going in reverse all of the time, and then you be behaving as if you're being smart. Okay, let's just, take the document. The people are not sophisticated enough to read and analyze, so they're not going to know what's going on, and they're just going to sign. We just give them their thing and they sign. But then the world is looking at it. The United Nations have economists. The academic community have economists. And people take their time to go through these things, analyze it, and advise people who are making decisions with respect to whether or not to expand their investments in the country, because they do not want to it's not about hitting anybody. It's about making wise decisions so that you can continue to prosper. People are not people do not put their money into places because they love somebody or not. No, people invest because they want to become prosperous. And to become prosperous, your investment must be wise. It must be wisely. It must be driven by wise decisions. So if you start bluffing around and you think, okay, we got so many illiterate people, so you just create a plan that is not consistent with your law, that reflect that you're not serious about strengthening your healthcare system. You're not serious about strengthening your educational system. You're not serious about strengthening your transportation system. You're driving people away. They're not going to tell you. Maybe only Liberians will get angry, I can tell you. But people got options. When the people have money, they have options. They don't have to invest in your country. You see? And so we need state leaders. We need leaders in our country who can respectfully give good advice, even if it's going to hurt people, and even if it's going to be disagreeable, to tell people when they're not performing, to say, this performance is poor. You see? And that's the only way you can improve.
So, Doc, I'm saying to George Weah, he has lied and betrayed our people. All he ever done is stolen. And people think that, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf came and enriched her people. That's why the people refused George Walker. That's why they said they didn't want anything to do with UP, because Weah told us he was the better option. Weah told us many times he could do this job. He didn't tell us he was coming to steal. He didn't tell us he was coming to build 47 units of homes. He didn't tell us he was coming to break down his house and build a tunnel into the ocean. He didn't tell us that he was going to buy himself a private jet and fly every weekend to Dubai and to Ghana and to Senegal and all of those places. No, he did not. He told us he could do a better job. He told us he would uplift our people from poverty. That's what he told us. But Doc, let's take let's look around us. We seeing the COVID-19. We actually started that. This platform, along with the Diaspora Women for Change, the Alliance of Liberian Women, and all of you who watch us, please share the video. I see if I were using all the vocabulary in the word, people would be sharing my video everywhere. All right, but I don't. The goal is if I can get 10 people to watch me, and I don't have to buy viewership, and I don't need to, and 2 people get the message for me to educate people. That's what I've been doing, and so I'm good. I'm looking at Liberians, right? We have spent maybe, I don't know, I know Alexander Cummings alone his foundation spent about $70,000. And Liberians around the world, I see talk show hosts, advocates putting money together, people who support our quiet advocates who may not have a platform, but we have all come together and supported our community and continue to. We provided food to the point that people are moving from community to community, collecting the food and selling it and go stand in line to get food from other people. Now, the point here is it sustainable for us as diasporan to continue to support, because we are the largest, contributor in the West Africa. In fact, in second in the world to the Hispanic in remittances. We send out over 500 million a year to Liberia. That is the same as the country budget or more than the country budget annually. But we still be insulted that we are the laziest diasporan. We're the one who don't have big houses. But I can't have big house if I have to send money to my family to survive. I can't have big house when you call me because somebody is in a hospital or somebody has to be buried. Somebody is not in school. Somebody is sick. Do you think this is sustainable? Because I'm looking at you, you are getting old. I am getting old. My kids are not connected to Liberia. I'm just being honest, okay? My children will not work like me to send money to Liberia, to any family member, not to cousins, how you call it. We grew up together. We have that connection. It's our culture. They, on the other hand, they have to find their own path. What are you taught? Is this sustainable at all?
It's not. It's not. It's not. The remittances, right? The remittances are not they're not sustainable. They're not sustainable, and it's also the remittances, even though they can have positive effects, they can also have negative effects in the sense that it makes sometimes on the positive side, it helps these people with resources that they need,
right?
And it helps to meet their need. But on the negative side, it can make them to become reluctant about being active participant in making sure that they are governed properly.
They're governed properly, yes.
Right, because they expect $100 or $200 to be flowing in every month. And $200 for them or $300 or $500 a month and they're living in their own homes. They don't have insurance to pay and whatever is a big deal.
Yes.
So I believe that what needs to be done at a personal level is that people in the diaspora have to think about how to empower their relatives and their friends and other people on the ground through investment projects, different kinds of projects that are self-sustaining, that will make these people, that will provide opportunity for these people to work and generate their own income and stand on their own feet, rather than just handing them money. But maybe some of that money needs to be organized and put into investment projects that provides jobs, whether at the factory level, at the restaurant level, at the farm level, at the storage level, at the distribution level, that provides a means for these people to earn a living. You see, so it's better, as I say, it's better to teach people how to fish than to just give them fish. See, than to just give them fish, because they are going to just consume the fish and then they come to you for more. So I think in terms of sustainability, that's the direction we need to be looking. But at the same time, we need an environment, a policy environment that can facilitate this process of self-empowerment and growth, which means we have to look at the leadership issue. So now is the time to begin to work, to educate people, to educate voters so that they can understand how to vote and how to make decisions, so that when it's all over, they do not have people who just promise to do this for them and do that for them, but people who can create the framework and can pursue the kind of policies that will facilitate self-empowerment. Those are the kind of policies that will bring prosperity to the country. So that's how I see it. We have to all continue to help, especially in emergency situations. But we cannot be the source of expenditure for routine activities. You know, I need to pay my tuition. I need to go for medical checkup. I need to feed my kids. Those types of things. We need to find a way to empower these people so that they can generate their own income. And that way you'll be helping the country more. Because, I mean, we've been doing this forever and it's not making a difference. It's not making a difference. People are becoming even more dependent. The young people are growing. The population is increasing, and they are becoming more and more dependent and much, much poorer. So like the Ghanaian president was saying, you claim to have been helping us all these years, but we're getting poorer as you say you are helping us. So are you really helping us? So we need to arrive at a place where we do not just depend on charity. So charity can occur at so many levels. It can occur at the national level. It can also occur at the personal level.
Correct.
So that's how I see it. We need to find a way to come together and think about investment programs. Even if we have to go there and get in the field with these people, create a farm, let people work on it, create a store, let people sell in it, let people distribute in it, create something, create a restaurant, a place to eat. Let people come to work in the morning and get us and make a living.
And Doc, to your point, I agree with you. I have a few young men who are into business. They're Liberians here who contacted me a few months ago. But you know, we're being all distracted by the COVID-19. This is exactly what they said. Some of them are working in Jamaica. It's working out for them. We will call you in and we'll call people in because I'm tired sending money to people. I've done this since I was a little girl, okay? Because I've been in the country. Mansfield will tell you that. From the refugee day to resettlement day and to date. I'm in my 50s. There's no way I'm getting ready to retire and I'm going to continue this. And I have my own kids, okay? Right. It's not possible. But let me give you a quick example. I went home, not for the election. I took my father's body home. And we went to Secretariat to find food, to find cassava. Mind you, you are in Nima County and you cannot find cassava in the market. Mind you, you are in a place where the bush is green, but people are leaving from that to go to Secretariat to the market to buy greens. I got greens in my backyard and I live in America. And I was shocked. I was shocked that people in Liberia could not find pepper. They have to go to Guinea to bring pepper. All right. So are we really helping our people? Are we? By just giving? Because now during the corona, people were saying you can't close the road to Monrovia. How will we get food? Because people have to come for rice to Monrovia. Yeah. What happened to us?
Right. Yeah, I think our relationship, again, the leadership has to play a role in this. You cannot just hide from the people and assume that they will know which path to go on. I think we have to lead by example. I think we have to find a way to think ahead, as I said, to begin to develop corporate interests, to begin to develop community interests where we can take some of this money that we are sending. Because every month, if you're sending $200 or $300,
that's money you can invest in stuff for you and your children's future. Yeah.
Right, but $300 every month, that $3,600 a year you're sending. So if you look at that over, a 10-year period, you see, you're talking over $30,000. If we take $10,000, $15,000 and invest in a project, and it does not necessarily have to be in Liberia.
Yeah.
It can be in any of the African countries, any of the neighboring countries. If Liberia is not ready for you to invest, you can invest anywhere. And I think that's some of the things that we have not done in terms of saying, okay, let's wait for Liberia to be great before we begin to empower our people. No, we have to know that we are children of Africa first. And so we got to think outside the box and begin to create whatever enterprises, whatever investment we can create that will help to empower our people. When you give the people an opportunity, then you will know who is serious and who is not. If they don't want to perform, they don't want to come to the farm, they don't want to come to the, to where you're raising those animals, they don't want to whatever, then they don't want your help. You see, there's this view, there's cultural bankruptcy, that says that, oh, when you have power or when you are educated, then there's no need for you to work.
Yeah.
You see?
But we work in America, we work like slaves in America.
Right. And then
to send them.
Right. And funds should just be provided and you go to the store and just buy food and just buy clothes and what have you. Those things can be done temporarily, but it cannot be done on a sustainable basis.
Correct.
So government has a role to play, the community leadership has a role to play, even the religious institutions have roles to play in these things. We know God has blessed us, but we got to get up and work at it. You see, we know there are so many barriers that are being created. It's not that easy to create a business in our country. It's not that easy.
Especially for us Liberians, though. It's very difficult.
It's not that easy to get power for a business, because it's hard for you to really do a serious business if you don't have electricity. If you don't have good transportation system, you don't have water and all of that. Okay, so that's where the policy aspect comes in. That's where leadership aspect comes in, to build those infrastructure, to make sure that the legal system works, to make sure that the courts adjudicate cases and cases can flow through very, very fast, and to make sure that the monetary system works, so that you're not having 30% inflation and the exchange rate changing every second and all of that. So that's the policy part, where leadership at the national level comes in. But in conjunction with that, we need to also be creative to see how we can use our resources to empower our people. And by empowering our people, you also are empowering yourself, because you make them less dependent on you. You make them even better prepared that you know, they can even assist you when you retire.
Thank you so much, Doc. We have 2 minutes to go. We started late. We need to have this conversation. There more because we, guys, we talk about the overview of the so-called, quote unquote, so-called recast budget. We're supposed to be a supplementary budget because we upped the budget. We didn't come down with the budget. 2, we allocated funds. We took funds from where funds really needed to have been, which is in the medical and educational field, and we carry it to finance and to public works. Okay.
Information as well. We need to give more.
Yes.
Because again, you have to reach people. So that's where ELBC, Ministry of Information, and all your business come in. Ministry, you know, Monrovia Transit Authority, people need to move around and all of those kind of situations. You see, to all of those facilitating information flow, facilitating telecommunication, making telecommunication cheaper. Those are some of the ways in which other nations are succeeding, you know, in addition to strengthening the healthcare sector. Those are ways in which other nations are responding and succeeding in their response to the coronavirus situation. I don't think they're responding by, you know, building, you know, more community roles, right? You know, in terms of.
And Doc, speak today a little bit because people are saying, oh, they have not been rolled, we need roll. Was these funds, and anybody, I will take 2 calls before Dr. Gompo goes, okay, 3 o'clock, 3:01, I will start. Was this funds out of killer for a role? Are we supposed to create our own budget, find a way that we can make our own money in our country to kind of put it to budget that things that we want to do in a community? Was this fund for role building or was it designated for this coronavirus? Because I don't get the mind of our people. I'm trying to understand their minds, and it's frustrating per se.
Yeah. I mean, they need to provide more detail. You cannot just put your pool of funds. You say you cut people's budget and you put the money into a pool and you call it coronavirus response. That's what you've done in this document. Then now in the distribution of that coronavirus response, you take the money, you take, you know, a significant portion of the money, take it to public works. Then you take a significant portion, you take it to Ministry of Finance. You know, and that's your coronavirus response. So we really need to find out more with respect to where, in fact, we're getting this increase in the, you know, in the budget from. I mean, we didn't cover everything, but I also see that 5% of the expenditure now is going towards the repayment of debt and repayment of principal and interest abroad. So $25 million is going to, in the budget, is going to just paying off debt and interest. So,
and then we're getting more debt.
Right. So we got to be very careful. The legislators have to be very careful as new debts are proposed, because those debts, they come with interest and they come with repayment. So if you borrow more and more, you know, a bigger and bigger proportion of your budget each year will be going towards the payment of those debt. As you can see now, 25 million is not small money.
You know what, Doc? Our time is over. I would like to bring you back here. I want us to look at our debt ratio at this point, and those are about to mature, because more will be start maturing the debt that we took over the years, for the last couple of years, and those that they're taking now. I know they're taking debt now. Can our budget withstand that? Will we ever be able to do what we say we'll do? What that says of the future of Liberia, especially the future generation. So we will come back. Yes, Sonia Boy, I reached out to you last night. I saw a very disturbing picture. I don't know what that is. I don't want to assume, but I was trying to call you. Somebody's calling from Louisiana. So let's get 1 or 2 calls and then we will have you close and we'll go. Caller, what is your name and where you're calling from, please?
My name is Christine and I'm calling from Louisiana.
Yeah, Chris, go ahead.
I want to say that I love this speaker so much because he touched on a lot of things. One of the things I wanted to say that when you don't have qualified people, you dig hole to cover hole.
Dig hole, cover hole. I like that. That's a good analogy. Dig hole, cover hole. Yes.
Because if we had a finance minister who is exposed, who has the experience, he will know there are a lot of things in the fine print of the grant or the loan that's been given to Liberia. That's one thing. What makes me upset is that Liberia we need to take care of our healthcare situation. Why would you cut from healthcare to give to other places? So even if you give it to transportation or where?
Yes.
Do we have public buses running in Liberia that we would use in transportation?
Not sure.
You know, I think healthcare, you already got hospitals that are built. So the most that the government can do with the money that they're getting, you put equipment in there, pay your staff, train your nurses and your doctors. You got a lot of doctors in Liberia who want to work, who know it. Okay, but if they're not paid, people not going to be working for free, and then you're riding the big cars over there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's frustrating. Another thing that's killing us, and I want the agriculture minister to know, and the president to know, if you do Liberia the way Jerry John Rawlings did Ghana, it will be fine. Because look, when you stop importing and you produce food for your people, you make your country independent.
Okay, sis, finish your thought because our time is over. Thank you so much for your input. Yes.
That's it. And I want to thank the speaker so much. I wish you bring him back on.
I will bring him back on. We have a lot of stuff to talk about. There's a lot of group of Liberians that we want to bring on and kind of highlight their expertise and where they think about how we can shape our nation. Thank you so much, sis. God bless.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you.
Yeah, that's this, Chris. So, Doc, what's your final thought to our people?
Well, the final thought is that we all need to work together. We need to recognize that we have to get beyond this thing of letting what our people usually talk about, letting our sympathy exceed our interest.
Right.
You know, so when you start saying, "Oh, I love this person, I love this leader," and you're not willing to even look at actions that have been taken, bad policies that are being made, errors that are being made, is like putting your sympathy above your interests.
Correct.
And this has not helped us.
Right.
The whole world now is becoming more advanced in terms of technology.
Correct.
Everyone now is being exposed to knowledge. Correct. Countries are being transformed just with knowledge and the application of knowledge alone. Yep. In the 1970s, we were very closely friends with countries like South Korea. The president, the former, dictator of Liberia, Samuel Doe, was a very good friend of Chung Do-hwan, who was also a military dictator in South Korea. But he transferred South Korea, though. This is what I'm coming to basically say that we were almost at the same level. Right. And look at where South Korea is today.
That hold on. When he took over, South Korea had a GDP of $79. Okay, GDP per capita. Liberia has $700. So Liberia were way advanced. So I'm just so we can clear that. Yes, but go ahead.
Okay, but today we are falling far behind. Among 25 poorest countries in the world, the USA today put us at the least, so we fall below all of those countries. It's time to put this personal to put this sympathy aside and to focus on the interests of the country. To focus on the interests of the country, to get away from this personal interest. Oh, I love this person. No, this is now about performance. It's performance that is going to get us there. It's performance that is going to help us to compete with our neighboring countries so that they can stop looking down on us. So they can stop taking us for a joke. It's performance. The person does not have to be fine. The person does not have to be tall. The person does not have to be fat. The person does not have to have scored so many goals. What?
I like that.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's time to get serious. It's time to get serious. We are just as smart as any other people.
Yep.
But if we don't take the action so that we can produce doctors, so that we can produce engineers, so that we can produce nurses, so that we can produce construction people, we'll continue to suffer. No matter who we love. This is not a love game anymore. You know, I think there's this song that talk about what does love has to do with it. This is about policy. This is about nation building. This is about transformation. This is about reconciliation. This is about integration. What does love have to do with it? To come and just say, I love this person, I love. So what? Can the person perform? Look at the indicators, look at the data. So we're not inferior to any other people in the world. So why do we spend our time behaving as if we will take forever to grow? I mean, you have this kind of serious, this kind of important platform where people can come to talk about our future, to talk about how we can work together, to talk about how we can brainstorm, to bring solutions to our problems. And then somebody is talking about cursing you and talking about how you look. What does love have to do with it at this time? People are dying. People are hungry. Kids are not in school. And then you're talking about love? So, I mean, one of the things I'm doing, I'm working with, some colleagues, and we are working on putting a conference together where we will bring minds that want to get serious about helping their country so that we can think about solutions, develop, design strategies for education, for health, for public policy, for international relations. So we're looking forward to having that conference later in July of this year. So I will be in touch with you, and maybe you will help me to identify some Liberians that can also be invited so that we can really have some serious conversation.
I would love to, Doc. In fact, I'm looking here. I see accountants, I see finance major, I see planning and design, I see computer engineers, I see electrical engineer. In fact, yesterday I had two wonderful Liberian, young Liberian couple, powerhouse. The husband is an engineer, the wife is a doctor. They are teaching, they have a STEM school in Liberia that support the Liberian school system. They've been there for 5 years. They went there, did feasibility study, collected data for over the years. They have 5 years of data, and they're enlarging on that data. The last school, when those children fail, I don't know how many ever 2,500 children failed the WIAT, they decided they would step in. And last year, the children who are in the program, 95%, they were the top 95% of the percentile. So that speaks to our ability to learn if the environment has been provided or is provided, or if the resources are available. Yes, I'm available. Thank you, Dr. Gompo. 1 minute, one last word.
From me?
Yes, 1 minute, one last word.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I found this really exciting. It's an opportunity to exchange views, and thinking about the problem and looking into it also helped to inspire me so that I can think about solutions that will help to improve our country. And I just hope that people wake up and empower themselves with the information that is being provided through this platform. And I hope that we all can come together and join hands in helping to bring solutions to our country when the opportunity comes, maybe in 2023, 2023. I hope that we all can come together and try to move the country forward.
So thank you so much, but let me tell you this. This particular platform does not help our emotional dryness. So those that you will see here, because it's topical, and that's good. If you got 20 people, that's 20 more people who are like minds that will be able to help, and we can pass on the information. So before you go, I want to play this tape one time with Nana Addo of Ghana, talking about the rejection of foreign aid while we as Liberians are chasing foreign aid. I want you to listen keenly.
Will not take Africa to where it has to be. We do not want to be a scar on anybody's conscience. We do not want to be pitted. We do not want to be either pawns or victims. And we certainly do not want headline writers to continue to compete to find the most lurid adjectives to describe our continent and its people. Africa no longer wants to be the deficit place to go to find the footage to illustrate famine stories. We no longer want to offer the justification for those who want to be rude and abusive about Africa and her people. It is time to build our economies that are not dependent on charity and handouts.
Yes.
We understand the aid fatigue phenomenon. We understand that donor populations want their governments to spend their aid budgets in their own country. We have learned from long and bitter experience that no matter how generous the charity, we would, and indeed, we have remained poor.
No matter how long, how large the charity, we have remained poor. So now Africans, those of you who think when we went to Washington, we were killing your mom or your dad, that's exactly what Nana Addo said. So when you have far-sighted leaders who poke into that and say, listen, we must rise up, we must pull ourselves up our bootstraps. In fact, I don't think Africa, Europe, America, North America, Asia, these people should be dependent on us. We have the gold. We have the diamond. We have the purest of all, the sand that makes glasses. We have the rainforest. We have the tree that they tie and make the farm furniture that you go to order. But what we need is vision for our people and education. Doc, thank you so much for being here. Do appreciate you. I need you to come back so we can discuss budget allocation, what we should be focused on, and our deficit, our loans that are coming up, how we need to. And I want to say a special thank you and a happy birthday to Senator Dyrus Dillon. Dillon, happy birthday. We stand together with you. I saw my colleagues, my buddy, and my senior, friend who we work together, we do everything together, we fight together, we go to war together, said about Dyrus Dillon. Dyrus Dillon is the people's senator. Jonathan Kaipe, this is not a threat, this is a promise. Josh, this is a promise. Touching Dyrus Dillon will bring your presidency somewhere you may not know that you do not want to. You will either lead or you will leave. Let the man do his job. That particular budget here is an expert. He has worked in that field for over a decade. This is one of the people who crafted and changed the budget in Liberia under the first tenure of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. He knows why he packed his stuff and left, because you know why he didn't have to take bull anywhere. He knew he needed to keep his integrity, his character. He also knew his job, and he came back at his job, and he's doing fine. So those who have way out, they don't have to stay and cast up, and they don't have to stay in. But this man was part of the people who created the policies that were on the book that you guys are tearing down. So those of you here who want to ask questions, this is Dr. Kompu. Yes, not Dr. Kompu, PhD in economics. That we're talking about academia. We actually went to school and actually earned it So it's not honorary. I got to drill it home because we come from a place that most people cannot differentiate that. So we just call that. You don't use honorary doctorate degree as a prefix to your name because it's not an academia. So he can use it because he has it. That said, Doc, thank you so much for being here. Let's talk offline. I appreciate you for coming to share your knowledge with us, and you have reservoir of that. And thank you to all of you who are watching. Please share. I do appreciate you being here. And thank you to my team, second thought, and to all of you who continue and stand together with us. Thank you so much. Thank you, Doc.